Hello and welcome to Landy's Crypto Corner. Today is July 19th, 2024, and we're going to follow up with Wednesday and Monday's videos by taking a look at Bitcoin's price action on the daily. We will check on a few other time frames, both lower term and higher term. But first, we're going to start out with the daily here and kind of follow up with where we left off on Wednesday. And I believe Wednesday we were trading right in the lower high over here between 64 and 65.5. We can see that Bitcoin did spike up to around 66, which we had another zone just above here, which is this lower high, the first big lower high of this downtrend in this range here before spiking down to 56,500. That was the next upside area on any price action that started to close on a 4 or 6 hour and up to a daily. We were looking basically for Bitcoin to head right to where it essentially headed to here at the 67,300 zone. Now, if this area is closed above on a daily, I would be looking for price to play up a little bit further, maybe initially into the $68,000 level. There is an order block just before the downtrend really did get going here and the most recent downtrend. And then above there to around $70,000. And that's roughly where this wick high of this rejection is coming in this high side consolidation here. So above 67,300, I'm kind of looking between $68,000 and $70,000. If Bitcoin does start closing up there on significant timeframes below the daily, I would want to see like a 4, 6, or even a 12-hour above there. Then I would start to target the high side zone again. Right here in this green area around 71.5 to, $72,000 by the wicks up here, and then up to the all-time high at 73,835. So pretty straightforward. Bitcoin's been playing very, very technically. You can even see how it used the $64,000 level here, this lower high close, as an area to hold as support and put in a higher low on the daily. So there is some things to be aware of here. So we do have an uptrending structure here. So we went from downtrend. We see that we had a nice higher low wick here. Was a lower low close, but then that was followed up with a high put in. This is more of a wick high or a swing high than a closing high. But then that went right into a higher low off of this prior lower low of the range at 56,500. So we see the higher low wick there, and then we got a nice structural closing higher low. And upon Bitcoin closing the Sunday candle here above this $60,000 level, 60,300 here on spot price, which was this low of the downtrend, it actually set a trend break in motion and a higher low all in one go. So kind of set that higher low and then broke the downtrend subsequently in the day after and reclaimed the resistance here from this prior low that was set. There was actually like two lows that were set. This is more of a complex low. The actual low that was set was right here at 60,300 on the close. So the next area to look to was essentially where it failed at this high, which was this lower high over here at the 64 to 65.5 zone, and then up to the next zone at 67,300. So again, very, very technical criteria for, looking back down to some safe pullback areas would be right around the wick lows now. Of course, that's in this lower high around 62.8 to 63.8 by the close and the wick high. That is a safe pullback zone. If Bitcoin does, however, close below the lows here, we would have a technical break of this uptrend. So just be aware of that. I wouldn't really be looking for, really big bad moves, but I would be looking somewhere, if it does happen to close below 62.8, for instance, which is this wick low right here that was testing into this high, then I would look down to somewhere around the high side of this consolidation at $62,000, 61.8 to 62. And then below there, I'd be looking right back to the safe pullback zone here at 60,000 to 60,300. If that area did not hold up, the next big area that Bitcoin would need to hold is this 58,400 level. That was the wick low. of the really big wick low that actually went and sent Bitcoin into this sideways higher low structure before the lower high right here. We had this big wick low at 58.4, which was essentially a front run of this 58.3 lower low close of the range at that point when we were evaluating price action over here. So just be aware that this safe zone is where, Bitcoin could potentially head to, only if it starts to change trend even rather below around 62,800 to 63,800. If we started to see a close below 62.8, and especially below the wick lows here at around 63,200, then we have to look for 62.8 or even 62,500 here. If it starts to break down from there and reclaim this high, essentially we're looking at $62,000. Nice order block candles in here. There's a couple of them. And then subsequently that $60,000 area. So pretty straightforward in terms of what we're seeing in price here. And, a pullback like that, as long as it's remaining above this last higher low down here in the danger zone of 56,500 is looking good. Below there, then we're looking at the lows again, possibly lower into daily distribution. I don't think that's what's going on right now, unless we did see some sort of aggressive sell-off coming in next week. That's not the read that I'm getting on price action at the moment. Things could change over the weekend. I don't know. I will update you with that on Monday, obviously. So just pay attention to the bottom side of this structure. Safe pullback zone, 62.8 to 63.8. Anything below there, we're in danger of seeing, or the bulls are in danger. We're not in danger. The bulls are in danger of seeing $62,000 again, potentially 60. And I think that would be just fine in terms of a pullback. Now, I do want to show you how perfect this was on this run the highs area that we've been showing here. This is how we got the 4-hour close, like basically right on it. Because there was no close above it, we did not get continuation. So it did not break that resistance on a close, but Bitcoin bulls did show their hand and that they can push price up through it briefly. So, if that area is regained, it would be, more angled up to that $68,000 to $70,000 area. Of course, pullbacks into this particular zone right here between 64 and 65.5 are perfectly acceptable. You can see that there was, this nice uptrend to a bit of a bull flag here. And with this lower high, lower low structure through here, once we saw this high break at around 65,000 to 65,100, excuse me, 65 to 65,100. Wow, losing my voice already here. And this is a shorter video. My apologies. That's where, we were looking to this high again and then up to the green line here at 67,300 essentially. This is 67,272 is where that high is technically on the spot price chart. So looks good. Could use a nice cool down over the weekend, especially if it's holding strong above 64 to 65.5. Probably looking at things trying back up again either over the weekend or at the start of the new week. So what should we be watching for over the weekend? Well, pretty simply, let's go ahead and throw on the Bollinger Bands here. So if you are interested, you can grab these for free. This is my set of Bollinger Bands. It's a triple Bollinger Band set. It's for measuring the levels of volatility as it relates to the horizontal supports and resistances. It also has a built-in volatility metric here called BBWP, which thank you again, Caretaker, for allowing me to use your code and include it in this indicator. But it's got a bunch of other bells and whistles. I do encourage you to read the notes on the indicator. It's not finished, so it's not publicly searchable in the indicators tab, but you can find it linked in my X profile and also on YouTube and the link in the video description. You just add it to your chart. It's free. And then you can get the same look that I'm getting here. And this is actually pretty encouraging. On the daily, the Bitcoin has held on to the upper first standard deviation of the Bollinger Bands here. So it's still maintaining trending. It's maintaining its trend on the daily. Obviously, it's an uptrend. But from a volatility perspective, it's still maintaining volatility expansion as long as it's above the upper first. Where we would see this go back into a contraction is on any sideways price action where the upper first begins to expand past it, or if Bitcoin were to trade back down towards the upper first here at $64,000 and lose it. Then we look down to the next big area of volatility, which is the basis band. This is just a 20 simple moving average. Now, this is right around $60,000. So essentially in the safe pullback zone, or on the top side of that safe pullback zone. I will tell you that I wouldn't want to see $60,000 lost. That would change the look. I'd be a bit more bearish than bullish if I did see $60,000 lost, at least for more consolidation. But right now, it's sitting above a nice level of support. So if it can start trading and closing back above the upper second standard deviation, you can see that the upper third standard deviation, the upper second, is right above 67,272 here, and even above yesterday's wick high at 67,500. I think it's coming in just over 67,500 there at 67,600 to 700. If Bitcoin were to close and a candle above there start trading up, you can see the upper third is right there at the run the highs zone, where we're looking at the all-time high zone again, essentially around $71,500 to $72,000 again. So right around the high side structures up here. So we do have some confluences there. You can see that if 58,400 to the downside below the basis band, so if Bitcoin were to trade and close below this from here, which is unlikely but not crazy to know about or have in the back of your mind, we have the of course the support at 58.4, and then the lower first is still right under this higher low structure on the daily. What I like to see from a volatility standpoint is, another tick to the upside. So Bitcoin either going sideways or up, or even coming back down and holding support at the upper first, and then curling that lower first standard deviation above this structural higher low. That would actually start to look really good. So, it is a weekend. We've had some very quiet weekends and then some very eventful weekends like last weekend. So, I don't know what this weekend's going to hold, but I do suggest that you keep an eye on some of these levels over the weekend. And then over the weekend, there's a few other things. Let's go ahead and get rid of the Bollinger Bands. We might turn them back on in just a moment here. Let's go and check on some of the other time frames. So we have the 2-day. We'll close with the Saturday candle. Very nice to see that the 2-day broke the downtrend. It does not have a higher low in place, so this was the downtrending high that needed to break the downtrend. We just need to see higher lows. So, you can see how it would be logical if Bitcoin lost its lows on the daily at this 63 for it to pull back even, into into a higher low structure around 62 to 62.8, or even 62.8 to 63.8, right around, and go sideways and then put in a higher low, or it could pull back to the safe zone. As you can see, the actual low side structures down here, right above that 56,500, kind of bounce off of it and come up. That does not rule out that Bitcoin can't just keep trucking to the upside either, right back to the highs. So keep that in mind. Looks good. Nice to see a trend break on the 2-day. Let's go ahead and look at the 3-day. The 3-day is going to close on Monday, so this will not have any confluent closures over the weekend. But you can see that the 3-day has also broken its downtrend. Very good. Just need to see higher low structure. Wherever there is a 3-day high, we need to see higher low structure build from there. Let's go ahead to the 4-day. 4-day also got its trend break. So we see this 4-day candle, this previous 4-day candle did close above the wick high here. This was the lower high. It didn't really put in, it was kind of like a continuation move almost, but because it did technically, it should have closed above 62.5 to make that a low, but this was, this structure here turned into a high. So it did break its downtrend as well. Now, as we go up the time frames, one more tick here to the 5-day, we can see that this was just a continuation move. So the last lower high in the 5-day, and this is the same for the weekly, the last lower high is up here at $72,000. So in order to break this now downtrending structure here, we need to see $72,000 closed above and then subsequently higher low structure build from there. What you don't want to see as a bull is a rejection right here and then right back down into the distribution zone, as this would be the likely area, quite honestly, to do this if it was just going to be a falling channel. That does not mean that the bull run is over. It just means that it's delayed, and we likely go into daily distribution into some of our downside targets that aren't relevant right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at the weekly. So you do want to see same thing on the weekly. I don't know if that would happen this week, if it does continue to remain bullish from here, but maybe next week if we do start to see closures above 67 300 or so. And then, of course, above this weekly high, wherever that comes in, then we would be looking essentially up to $72,000 to see if we could get a weekly downtrend break as well. I do want to point out two things here on the weekly and the 5-day. So I'm going to flip back and forth quickly, but we're going to be looking at the momentum chart here. This is Stoke momentum, not RSI. So not a Stoke RSI, which measures the momentum or velocity of RSI, which is just an indicator of an indicator. I already use RSI, so there's no need for that. Instead, this measures close over close price momentum. So in this case, we can see on the weekly here, if Bitcoin can close above the pivot number here at 65,364, then we would get a momentum shift back to the upside on the weekly. And we have actually already seen the initial cross on the 5-day here. So closing above $60,000, or in this case, 59,200 rather, on the 5-day, we can see that in the next 5-day closure, which will close on Monday, I believe. What's today? Saturday. So no, actually, this will close on Tuesday's candle, I believe, right? So we've got all of Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Yeah, it should close at Tuesday's candle. So this will be something to watch. You know, closures above 59,200, we would get a fully confirmed cross to the upside. This is a fancy indicator. This is not a free Stoke. It's got a nice little green dot for something called DMI. I won't get into that. You can get a free momentum indicator with pivots here that's set almost exactly like this one. This one just has a lot of bells and whistles. It's by KVDB over there at Eric Crown Crypto. I really do love the developers over there. Obviously, Caretaker helped me. He's the creator of BBWP. He helped me by allowing me to use his code in my own indicator. So big fan of them, and of course Crown over there if you ever want to see a different perspective on technical analysis. Now, the advanced Stoke is basically the same as this Stoke here. This is a Stoke that has pivots, essentially. So 59, 189, same exact pivot numbers. You can find this by typing reverse Stoke into the search bar here of the indicators tab, and then selecting the BA reverse Stoke panel. The panel will put it in its own box down here on your chart, so you can get the same kind of pivot numbers that I have here. Last thing to check on here for the weekly and 5-day are going to be the we'll go to the weekly here. It's going to be kind of where volatility is on the weekly. So we can see, excuse me, we can see that we'll get rid of all of our drawings, and we can see that I mentioned this before. Before Bitcoin even moved down and broke this area here at the basis band, we did see that Bitcoin was getting this beautiful expansion up. And then essentially we were getting compression. And when you see a compression on bands like this, you know, it's very unlikely even closing below the lower second is going to kick off that expansion unless it consistently closes below the lower second. The same goes for the upside here. We need to see consistent closures above the upper second. Now that we are in the type of expansion that's looking like it's going to paint sideways in a range for volatility, the next thing to look for is closures above essentially the all-time high zone at $73,000 to $73,835 here. And we are looking for weekly volatility to move up significantly, thus price hitting its next expansive phase. So we've, you know, the last expansion phase, just for your knowledge here, was this big consolidation. This was back in March of 2023 all the way until October of 2023. So, you know, that led to a very large move up. and essentially the next expansion phase to the upside here is going to result in a very large move up, in my opinion. That's where we're talking, locally swings of the high, $73,000 to $75,000, somewhere in between the upper second and upper third initially. And then on closures above, the upper second here at essentially $72,000, we're looking, the upper third is around 76. So 73 to 75 is a safe bet. Any closures above there, we're looking 75 to 78, 78 to 80, so on and so forth. I got this question earlier today a couple times. Yes, I do think Bitcoin will hit $100,000, probably beyond, but it's not. I don't want to talk about targets to the upside until we start seeing a blue sky breakout, and then we can start measuring for potential areas of interest for profit taking and all that good stuff. The longer this consolidates, the higher price is going to go when it eventually breaks out. You might be wondering about downside expansion. Landy, what about if it takes out the downside, closes below the lower second? I'm looking 53 to 50, and then essentially the monthlies down there, the accumulation distribution zones that I've had on here for quite a while. If it were to start breaking down in the longer term timeframes, I'm looking for daily distribution into target 1, 53 to 50, and then this prior monthly zone at 48, 240 to around $45,000. Which just so happens to be right around where the floor for electrical cost is. Maybe a wick through there is fine, but I wouldn't be looking for much further downside from there if that were to occur. I'm going to leave you with that. You have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe, and of course, as always, stay safe. Go and listen to all the Spaces events that I hosted and or guested on this week. A lot of awesome conversations with a lot of awesome people. To all my new followers on X, thank you for following me. I do hope that you find a lot of value in the technical analysis portion of my feed. That's what I do here on X. And if you want to hear more about just general takes on markets and stuff, and me absolutely drooling over awesome projects, go ahead and hit up my feed there, and you can listen to some of the recorded spaces. There were quite a few. Had Welsh this past Tuesday. Going to be obviously continuing with Welsh over there from the TA portion, but also interjecting here and there with some of the things that that the team over there was talking about. And thank you to the Welsh community, by the way. You all have been awesome, wonderful people to me, and I look forward to continuing to hang with you and share my knowledge with you. Of course, we've got Pepe Ornell's Maxi. Was on the Palm event was on Wednesday this week. That was just awesome, as always, with Angie and Frocrates. Yes, we had some other guests there as well, so I encourage you to go listen to that one. Followed that up with some guest appearances throughout the week, and then, of course, ending this particular week with Nat Monkeys over there, Goyoza. Wonderful, wonderful human being. We had a great project, Nataman, on talking about their DMT project and the DMT space and the on-chain game they're building. Very, very cool, interesting stuff, and a very unique utilization of DMT technology to create a game. Really, really awesome stuff, as always. And then be on the lookout. It's possible over this weekend could have a new Bitcoin order event with Loki. Not quite sure. We're still kind of working on that. If not, going forward, there's going to be new Bitcoin order spaces events as well. So, watch the feed closely. Thank you all. You have a wonderful weekend. Take care.